Well, guys, I am going old school. This experience was astral projection. And while I began having these astral projection experiences when I was 9 years old in the late 70s, since I began having beyond body experiences, which was roughly about 6 years ago, the astral projection experiences definitely don't happen as often, but they still do happen. And as I talk about this very brief experience, I will try and give helpful tips to you as I go along. I believe I always try to give tips if I can, as I talk about these experiences. And the only thing is, I hope that they are helpful to you, in the sense of helping you if you desire to leave your body. It's why I do the tips as I go along. But yeah, this was a classic astral projection experience, and it happened about I would say about 4:30 in the morning. The only reason why I didn't make the video right then and there was because I was, oh my gosh, I was just so exhausted. I wrote it down, and I'd been up and stuff, and normally I would make a video right at that moment, but I was so tired, and I decided to go ahead and wait until I got home from work, and then I would share the experience with you. So it was about 4:30 in the morning. I was laying on my side. Now, for those of you who are interested, I actually had on National Public Radio. I did not have on Storm Sounds. I was not planning on really going anywhere, although I was tired, and I thought I was in that state that it could happen. And I'm kind of always mindful of it nowadays. So even if I do have on like National Public Radio, which is kind of like the news basically, I'll have it turned down and I can hear just the talking a little bit, sort of in the backdrop, but not really clearly. I still very highly recommend for those of you who are attempting astral projection to listen to, music, binaural beats, whatever it is that assists you in making that transition. Certainly I've been asked, what are some of the things that one can listen to, and I've seen this before. What are the best things to listen to astral project? And the only thing I can really tell you, and this is my opinion, is that you should listen to what relaxes you, regardless of what that is. For me, it's mostly storm sounds. I love storm sounds. Sometimes if I have the radio on in the background and there's talking and it's very, very light, I can do it. But again, I've been doing it since, for the last 40 years. So I have an ability to do it fairly effortlessly, despite what's happening, unless there's really loud noises. It works best. My astral projection experiences are the best when there's silence. And I know a lot of people don't talk about this. It's so interesting to me. When I'm on the subreddit, I see people talking about all these different things. You need to do binaural beats. You need to do this. You need to do that. You listen to this, listen to that. Silence works, guys. It does. Silence is actually when I have been in complete silence, or maybe it's been raining outside and I can hear it outside, like natural rain that's coming down. It's not coming from my iPad. I have actually had the most luck with that, with just having silence in the backdrop. So something to consider. I was laying on I think I was on my right side, I guess. And I felt that middle space, but instead of going into my beyond body business, I rolled out of my body. I rolled out and I was astral projecting. Now, astral projecting is such a different experience for me. So interesting. With this particular experience, I realized how different beyond body is from astral projection. It's a different feeling. Beyond body is so much more of a physical feeling, like I'm in a physical body and I'm just moving around. While astral projection, there's no doubt for me inside that I am a spirit being and I can move and do all these different things kind of instantly. In fact, when I first came out, I kind of jumped up and down. And it's interesting because when I astral project, when I roll out of my body nowadays, sometimes when I roll out, I'm not even in my place, or at least my place doesn't look anything like it looks in the 3D world. That's another interesting thing. Things look so different, vastly different. And sometimes I feel like I'm in a completely different place. So I jumped up and down a couple of times, and then I headed toward the window, and the window looked weird. It was wider than it would normally be. Now, I've talked about dimensions before, guys, on the astral plane. Sometimes dimensions can be exaggerated. Sometimes things seem wider, bigger than they normally are in the physical world, if you're wondering how things look when it's out there. For some people, things look and they match basically the physical world, but I think that it depends on perception, and it could depend on a million different other things. Who knows? But for me, I see different dimensions at times. Sometimes things are wider than they are in the 3D world. This window that I was looking out wasn't anything like my patio. It didn't seem like that. There was an area of the window that seemed cluttered to me. And when I tried to move out of that area of the window, I couldn't move out. I felt as if I was a bit sluggish when I was out there too, which was interesting. I thought maybe, man, I'm losing practice. I don't do the astral projection thing as much anymore. I do the beyond body thing so much, so I'm losing practice in my astral projection. But my vibrational frequency, it just felt heavier. It felt, I didn't feel as light as I would normally feel. There was another side of the window, guys, and it was clearer and it didn't seem as cluttered. I'm trying my best to describe this to you, but it was, to my perception, it just looked strange. I just know that one area seemed thicker than the other. And this other area, to, I would believe, my right side, it seemed more open and clear. And I tested it. I put my hand through the glass, and I remember feeling my fingers going through the glass and the sensation of it. And I thought, okay, so I can get out through this way. But again, it wasn't as light as I normally feel. So, perhaps I was in an area of the astral plane that was a bit heavier. My mom suggested that maybe I was in a kind of sort of a mixed place with the beyond body and astral projection at the same time, which is actually very interesting. I'm not sure. I just know that I felt a bit heavier. Finally, I was able to push through this other part of the window and go through the glass, and I was flying over this park area. There was grass and there were paths, and I remember I started to drop a little bit, guys. When I was moving, I was flying, I was starting to drop. I was thinking, okay, so, and I've experienced this before. Again, this is something that if you are able to separate from your body, you might want to think about. Because when I felt myself beginning to drop in the astral plane, I would always try and physically go up, sort of. I would try and physically make myself go up in a sense, even though I'm not in a physical body. I would try and physically make myself go up, and it didn't work. It honestly didn't work. And I began to really focus on the mental part of this, because it really is about your mind, and thinking to myself, okay, I'm feeling heavy. Now I need to feel lighter. And so I remember in my mind, I was thinking to myself, I need to feel lighter. I need to be able to float up higher. And I remember that I felt myself rising up higher eventually after I started thinking this way. And I thought to myself, yes, it's all about the mind. And always remember that. I have seen people talking about the fact that when they astral project, they feel sluggish when they're out there, or they feel like they can't move, they feel heavy, they feel like they can't move across the room. My suggestion is to remember that you are your thoughts at this point, and you're not in a physical body. So you should be relying more on your mind to make things lighter or to move across the room. You should think, I want to move across the room, instead of trying to physically move across the room. Try that and see if that works. For me, I was able to float up higher when I did that. And I saw these 3 boys, all blonde, and they weren't more than maybe, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. And believe it or not, guys, they were flying a drone between them. Now, the astral plane's a very strange place. I could see the drone because I was flying kind of near it. It was kind of a distance away. And I was like, okay, they're flying a drone. They seemed like they were having a pretty good time. Then I noticed that a fight broke out between the 3 kids. And I was like, okay, they're fighting. Now, I don't normally do this, but I decided to do it on this occasion. I came down from the air, and as they were starting, it was coming to fists. They were actually physically fighting. I took one of the kids, I kind of put my arm around this kid, and I said, you need to calm down. And believe it or not, guys, the kid looked up at me and said, just kind of nodded and said, okay, okay, okay. And the kid calmed down when I put my arm around him. But I was very gentle about it. I didn't grab him or anything. I was very gentle, and I almost felt like I could be like this kid's parent, just telling the kid to calm down and to stop fighting. Well, it's interesting because soon after that, the experience ended. That was it. And I came back instantly to my body, opened my eyes, and wrote it down. Yes, astral projection, guys. I still do it, and I like talking about it because, again, it gives me the opportunity to share things with you and maybe give you helpful tips along the way. Thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. And until next time, take care.